Um, we'll do a quick introduction and I'll also share my screen so we can jump into just a presentation. But first and foremost, thank you all for being a part of this. I know this is not the most ideal situation. We'd rather be on campus and seeing each other in person physically, but we still want to make sure that not only our students, but also the families who are helping the students transition into UW Tacoma um, get some really great information. So my name is Stephon Harris. I'm the Associate Director of New Student and Family Programs, and you'll see that in a second. So I'll still be admitting folks into the meeting because they'll be popping in. We can get started. So at the end, feel free to ask any questions that you may have. We're going to talk about just kind of what your role is as supporters for your students. And we're going to talk about just some of the different resources that UW Tacoma has on our campus in order to not only support you, but also support your students and how you can fill that role, that intermediate gap of making sure that everyone is feeling the need to feel that sense of belonging on our campus, as well as how we're transitioning eventually back to campus in different ways. So again, my name is Stephon Harris. I'm the Associate Director of New Student and Family Programs at UW Tacoma. And basically, we're just going to talk about tips to support your student. At UW Tacoma, how do we build community? And what are those different opportunities to build community on campus, as well as what are some of the campus resources? And then we'll kind of wrap it up with a Q&A. So hopefully when you leave here, we'll have all the necessary questions answered for you, and make sure that you'll be able to follow up at any point. I'll have my contact information as well. And we also have some admissions folks as part of the conversation tonight too. So feel free, jot down your questions if you have any, and we'll move right on through. So just beginning, this goes way back to a long time ago. For those of you that you're supporting a first time in college student, or this is your second or third or fourth student in college, the research on just supporting young adults and students goes back a long time. And so I just wanted to surface that because a lot of what we do on our campus is making sure that not only are things rooted in the research of it, but it's practical. And we make sure that our students at UW Tacoma know that they have a support system no matter where they are and what program they're a part of. So when we think about family transition, I think about my own transition. I have a daughter who's a senior in high school right now, so she's also struggling with not being able to graduate, at least having a ceremony to graduate. So that's a little troublesome. But when we think about transition, we think about just the independence, thinking about what your role is now as a supporter, parent, family member. As a huge sports person, I love coaches and I love being a coach and I love what coaches represent. And that's how I see your role now as you transition into this next phase. We're all changing, especially right now in this time. We're all kind of shifting our schedules and in some cases struggling with how our schedules are working, to be at home and work and conduct ourselves like we normally would in an office setting. But just know that, you know, your students are experiencing the same thing as you are, and continue to just help them balance themselves and look for any opportunities to engage and connect and have conversations around why you're struggling, or, you know, why some of the things are not necessarily working for you in the way. And one of the things that I like to say, like any good coach, there comes a time to step back and observe the results of your hard work. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we progress. But just more importantly, you've really done a lot of work with the students. You've helped them get to this point and continuing to work with them. But now let's talk through how your role is shifting and how you're going to be able to work with them moving forward. And so when we talk about the role of UW Tacoma, what is it exactly? So creating social interactions for the students, making sure that they feel that sense of belonging to the campus, developing them. They're there to learn as well, not only be social, but there to learn not only academics, but how to be in social settings, how to actually research, how to navigate a system that they're not necessarily used to. Whether they're first year college students, whether they're transfer students, it's still a new system that they're gonna have to adjust to. And so we're there as a way to help them develop those skills and then also apply those skills not only on the campus, but off the campus. So thinking co-curricular, inside the classroom, outside the classroom, helping them identify what strengths that they're already coming in with. So validating some of those things that you've taught them, but then also helping them hone some of those skills that they necessarily haven't seen for themselves. And then the last part is building confidence. The goal of being a college student, especially at UW Tacoma, we introduce career early, and we do it early and often, and we do it throughout their time at UW Tacoma. And so it's important for them to have that confidence, because employers, that's kind of a goal for the students, is to have employment and to have be steady in a job or career pathway. So let's jump into just some tips for supporting your student. What does that look like? What are some things that you need to be aware of? And I say that too, thinking about myself and the role that I'm in too as a parent of a senior high school student. So again, some of you, this may be the first college student that you're supporting. Others, this may be the second or third. This is not new to you in some ways, but it's still a great reminder. And that is just staying connected. That's kind of the first tip that I would say. Stay connected, communicate as early as and often as possible through different media, through different forms. One of the things that I talk to students about is how their support systems are helping them either cope or navigate the work that they're doing, either in school or if they're working off campus. How has your family really helped you navigate that? How do you deal with difficult people and difficult situations? So it's really important to stay connected and know that the student won't always respond in a timely fashion at times. I am definitely experiencing that right now, but know that they appreciate hearing from you and that they ultimately appreciate the pathway that you've paved for them. And also keep in mind that your experiences carry a lot of weight as well. So whether you attended college or you didn't attend college, you still have a lot of cachet in your life experiences, and that goes a long way in helping them stay connected to you and the work. This is something that I am doing a lot more regularly, is doing some check-ins. And I do this a lot with our current students on campus, with students that I currently supervise. And that's just giving them the opportunity to share their ideas and information that they are seeking out, how they're doing their research, what are changes that they're experiencing, and what perspectives are new to them or challenging that they need to, I guess, check in with you with, based on the values and beliefs that you have instilled as a family system. And just being confident in that they can explore those ideas without them being judged. I know that's one of the things that I talk to students a lot about, is sometimes their family may judge them because they have experienced a different mindset or a shift in how they initially thought about things. But also know that it's important to just trust what you've taught them and trust your instincts, because you just never know the things that they're bringing to you that they may have learned. So it's just important to really understand that you should trust yourself as well. So this is one of the major ones, and this is being knowledgeable about campus resources. So we're going to talk a little bit about those resources a little bit further in the presentation after we go through the tips and tricks, but just helping them navigate. There's a lot of new language when it comes to being on a college campus. And again, even as a transfer student, there's still new language when you're coming from a community college or even another four-year school. The language is very different. So really you being invested in that and helping them figure out the best ways to navigate that system. Continue to be that mentor. And you are always, remember, you are always a resource. I go back to your life experiences have taught you a lot of things. Share those experiences with them. That's one of the things that I know that I am doing now with my daughter, and it's actually paying dividends. I was kind of surprised. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, having difficult conversations. Just know that their own decisions, you've kind of taught them to make their own decisions, to quote unquote grow up in a sense. So, be open to what they learn, but also challenge them on the things that they're learning and what they're hearing, because it's really important to know the directions that they may be going in, what people they're connected to, whether in the classroom, outside of the classroom, as it says here, organizations that they're participating in, talking about eating healthy, alcohol consumption, sexual activity, like all of those things are really important to have conversations with your students about. If those are conversations that you've already been having, or even if you haven't, those are really good things to talk about, especially as they embark on being college students, or new college students in this case. And just also know that you can't necessarily force them to behave exactly how you would or you would want them to, but it's important to continue to share those values and beliefs. I will say this, that there are, because of the diversity of our campus, it's one thing that we value, just cultural differences. And so we also recognize the cultural differences that appear and show up with our students. And that's one thing that I always talk about our students with. We never go against what your family cultural beliefs and systems are. So saying all of this, I also recognize that there are certain navigational tools and cultural aspects that play into this too. This is always something that stands out, asking questions, being a pest in a lot of ways, but not necessarily asking too many questions. Allow them to kind of divulge information to you, kind of doing it sneakily. It says here, most college students desire the security of knowing that someone from home is still interested in them. So they don't feel isolated. They're not feeling alone. Like, oh, I have to do this by myself. Oh, my family doesn't understand what I'm going through. You may or may not understand that in terms of, what it means to have a college life, being a student, working, whatever that looks like for that student. But always instill like, hey, talk to me about it. Help me understand what this means for you so I can better be there as a support system for you. Just thinking about honesty, one of the things that I'm finding out too is being open and honest. You're more than just a family supporter. You've seen them grow up and you've seen some of the directions that they've gone through, how to communicate with them, what they like to talk about, what they like to do. So use all of those tools to have these conversations and ask questions about their experiences on campus. Who are they connecting to and with? What are some of the things that they're learning and taking away? And how is this making them better? And then another aspect is just expect them to change. Every student that steps foot on our campus is going to change by the time that they begin to the time that they end, and in between. So they're going to go back and forth on what things that are valuable to them. What does a college experience actually look like to them? Um, and just thinking about who are those people that are impacting them and in what ways are they being impacted, whether it's a faculty member, their peers, you as a parent or family supporter. They're going to change. Um, but it is important for you, you may change with them, because in some cases what I've seen is we've also had some family members or parents, um, because of their student, actually want to go to college too. And so that change can affect you in many different ways, but it also affects your students. So continue to have these conversations about the changing, and how UW Tacoma can shift how they think about their everyday life, and what skill sets that they're learning. I don't know how many of you have heard this way before, that college is the best years of their life, or of your life, if you've heard this before. But just know that these are not the only best years of their life. Yes, college is fun. Yes, it is important. Yes, you're going to engage and interact with other people, but it can be very difficult, um, to navigate college. And so, as you can see, or the first part is just, there's a lot of insecurity sometimes that pops up with first year college students, or even students transferring from another school. Um, Mistakes are going to be made, whether it be academic mistakes, mistakes on who I decide to let in my circle of friends, my time management, all of these things, all of these mistakes are going to happen. But it's also a reminder that it's also a time where the students are inspired to be different. It's a lot of fun, and they're just going to discover different avenues, and they're going to be excited by, people that they probably thought they wouldn't encounter before, or theories of thought that they never took into account, or a classroom setting that they had an interesting conversation about, media and or social justice, or what have you. And so these are just some of the best times for them. And just know that, again, your support and your experiences play a huge part in how they navigate the system. And it's always important for you to encourage them and help them understand, um, not only college life, but life in general. Because life, you make mistakes and you have disappointments, and college is very much the same way. I would also offer, going back to an earlier slide, just have trust. Trust that you've definitely put your students in the right positions, provided the right information to them about how to navigate life. Obviously, a college system is a little bit different in a lot of ways. Just allowing them to discover who they are, and not going back, not judging them at all. Um, and also know that, their opinions do matter, and opinions will change based on the information that they get. Your opinions will change based on how you share information, or how you've been updated on the things that your student has been learning throughout their time, on campus. So it's just, again, it's really important to think through, and show trust and all of that. So those are just some of the tips of, how to support your student, at UW Tacoma, or moving forward. Should you guys choose UW Tacoma as the place for your student to be. So now we're going to shift gears and talk about UW Tacoma in terms of community building and resources. So the first aspect of that is, I mentioned this earlier, career development. So some of the community building opportunities I mentioned career development. Orientation is one of those first things that your student would experience, connecting with peers and connecting with different resources on campus and learning about, oh, you do the same thing or you're in the same program I'm going to be in academically. Well, let's stay connected. Or how can we connect? What are some of the programs and events that are happening on campus through Dogged In? We look at leadership development. So on-campus jobs that students can get, internships, thinking about study abroad opportunities. So it's just really important for them to know, and you as well, to push them and say, hey, have you thought about getting involved on campus? And not necessarily in a club or organization, but have you thought about investing more time? Because we are a heavy commuter campus, a lot of our students will come and go. Some will come straight to class, and then some will go straight home or go to work. But we always encourage them to get connected with, have a small community on campus that gives them that sense of belonging, like it's their new home. And so again, these are just some of those building opportunities on campus. One of the things is offering the students the chance to be on like hiring committees, or even helping make decisions about critical things around budget items, or giving input on how we operate different fixtures of campus. So these are all a lot of different opportunities for students to connect and build community with their peers. One thing that just happened today for the first time virtually is the involvement fair that takes place for students to learn about clubs, organizations, different campus offices and programs in which they can connect, or ways that they see themselves in a particular place or location. So a prime example would be learning about the Center for Equity and Inclusion, or learning about the Milgard School of Business and the different clubs and organizations that are associated with that program or those programs within it. So we're always encouraging the students to build a community, even if it's, you know, 2 or 3 people that they met in the classroom. If it's a faculty member, if it's someone from orientation that they struck a conversation with, myself as a staff member, whomever, but making sure that they have a connection to someone or a group of people to build those communities. So thinking about just the academic resources, you see just a list: library, the Teaching and Learning Center, connecting to tutors, centered around either math or writing, peer success mentors, so students that are helping them navigate the rigors of being a college student. What does it mean to struggle as a college student? How do you adjust to deadlines? How do you adjust to a syllabus? Especially for a first-year college student, what is a syllabus? And what does that mean for me? How am I supposed to keep track in this time right now that we're dealing with? Everything is online, so how do I adjust to the online aspect of learning? And how do I still connect myself to the different resources on campus? Disability resources for students. So helping students with learning disabilities, whether physical or not, is really important. Or seen or unseen disabilities is really important. We have an office on campus that is always helping us think through our programs and how we're connecting with visible resources for students who either have hearing impairment, who have a learning disability, who have, you know, color blindness, reading, all of those things. And so it's really important for us to know how to connect to those students early, which is why they do like a 10-day requirement to learn about, okay, what disability do you have? What type of help do you need in order to be more successful as a college student at UW Tacoma? And then again, professors are academic resources on campus. I mentioned we just added the peer success mentors that are through the Teaching and Learning Center on campus, as well as first gen initiatives to help students with those challenging aspects of what it means to be a college student. And then media labs for content in courses that use media, computer labs to help students with IT, with technical issues if they have laptops, or if they're PCs on using PCs on campus, checking out information or checking out items for video courses. So there's all these different academic resources that you should know about and really push your student toward if they feel like they're struggling and they don't know how to access these things. And also keep in mind that these are resources that we talk about during orientation as well, prior to them starting class. So they have a chance to connect to these folks in person before they even start classes. And then just outside of the classroom, support systems. So the student health services broken out in different health service areas in different counties, mostly from where our students come from. One area that has grown over the last couple years is our counseling and psychological services, helping students understand, not stigmatizing what counseling services actually means. And that is basically, you don't have to have a mental issue, or you don't have to be going through something, or you don't have to have a problem to have or to experience and to go to our counseling and psychological service. It could be anything from, I'm struggling transitioning into this campus, I don't know how to make friends with other people, or I'm having a hard time adjusting to the class structures on campus. So those are just some of the examples. The Office of Student Advocacy and Support, just helping students if they need navigation through emergency funding or trying to find housing in the area, the Tacoma Pierce County area. One thing that has come to light for students a lot recently is the Consultation Assessment Response and Education team, which is for CARE for short. And it's a combination of different faculty, staff, people who are looking out for students who come to them who are struggling, whether it's in the classroom, or I'm having anxiety issues, or I'm struggling off-site, off-campus. I need some help in how to navigate. And so the CARE team is there to help the student kind of be, as it says, they're a consultation. So it's just helping the students have another ear or a group of ears to lend to. I know one question that always comes up with families about joining our campus, or any campus for that matter, is, okay, is it safe enough? Am I gonna have to worry about anything while my student is there? And for our campus, not as much. And I say that in this way. Our campus safety and security has an excellent team of officers. They do a lot of patrols of our campus. The only thing that typically happens on our campus is, they say, are crimes of opportunity. So students who are leaving items in their vehicles where it's very visible, where a window gets broken, or a student is in a library and they walk away thinking that their stuff is safe and they come back and it's missing. So they're always stressing crimes of opportunity are always there, but you can limit that by taking care of the things and not making them visible to others. Other things is they're always on campus 7 days a week. They do escorts to and from vehicles, especially during the winter time when it gets really dark outside. And then they're also linked to Tacoma PD. So if there's any surrounding areas within our around our campus, they are also hearing it from. Um, they're also hearing it for our campus. So, and then also, again, career development. The pantry is another place where students can get food if they have food insecurities, or if they're missing food, they're living on campus, they're living off campus. The food pantry takes in donations, and they provide students with food that they just come and pick up from the food pantry. That's happened. It's been used a lot recently, but it's always something that's active for the students. So I always make sure that you take that into account as you are thinking about how to support your student. And then at the bottom, for those of you that can see the screen, at the bottom of the screen, I put our facts and resources for UW Tacoma. And I can also refer to that as we go through any questions. Just about in this time of being at home, how do I also access the resources for UW Tacoma, hoping that we don't have to extend this any further than this summer, perhaps. So just giving you some context as to how are we also working through this this time right now. So we can talk about that a little bit more, about those particular resources on campus, similar to what I've already been talking about. But these are just different methods on how to actually access them via online or in virtual world. So my challenge to all of you are supporters of students, whether you're a parent, whether you're an uncle, aunt, guardian, family member, whatever it is, you are supporting your students. And all the things that I just went through are highly important to think about. So I issue this coach's challenge to you, and that is to be open to new ideas and opinions, even if it's not what you would do necessarily. Let your student play the game. So helping them, obviously being there to support them and back them up, but let them experience some things first before you jump in and quote unquote save the day. And then how do we, in quotations, set goals? So helping them set goals for themselves. One of the exercises that I've done with my daughter is she writes down different goals that she wants to see as a college student. And I go through those goals, and then I come up with some things that I think she could be thinking about because of my experiences, both as a former college student, but now as working on a college campus. So even if you're not in the same positions that I'm in, goal setting is really important and is helpful, not just for your student, but also for you as well as you support them. And then understanding the balance of education, social and cultural worlds too. Again, I hear these conversations from our students a lot, that, oh, my parents or my family don't really understand what I'm going through, being a college student and trying to navigate this new social aspect of being on a college campus. And then my cultural background dictates a lot of how I navigate and how I go through my life right now. And so I would just say be understanding, and then also affirm their abilities, not focusing too much on the mistakes. Try to be solution oriented. So if they're coming to you with an issue, whether it be with a faculty member or if they're doing a project with a team and they're struggling with their teammates, offer some advice to them based on your own experiences too, but always focus on what's a solution. And then the last thing is, it's all about the resources. I always tell the students, somebody's paying for this. So you need to utilize the resources that are in front of you and that you have access to. Because if you don't use them, you're going to struggle that much more and you won't feel connected to the campus if you haven't utilized the resources that you or someone else is paying for. And then the last thing that I'll say is remember that the fundamentals of all of this, and that is remember everything that you've taught them. Remember that your experiences are valid in this process too, and that they also share some of the things that you've taught them, and they want to expand on that too, and they want to be better students, they want to be better people. And the last point is the first three letters of fundamentals is fun. Let's have fun with this. I always want to make sure that it is stressful, it's hard to navigate sometimes, but let's just have fun with it. And you're always going to learn something new. You're always going to take away different things, and let's capitalize on that and have fun. So with that, I'm Stephon Harris. Once again, my email is up there if you want to stay in communication with me. We have our other admissions folks that are on the line too, that will jump in and answer any questions for you. But at this point, we can jump into Q&A.